Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Daf Yomi, Masechet Tractate Bava Metzia, Daf 67 Amud A. So let's dive straight in. It says, I was thinking of Menachem when he said that mistaken forgiveness is valid, and I wanted to raise an objection to him from halachic exploitation, and he observed me, anticipated my objection, and showed me that he was correct based on the halacha of a sexually underdeveloped woman who was incapable of bearing children, the aid in it. So what's an aid in it? From the detailed discussion of the Gemara, primarily in Tractate Yevamot, it appears that this term refers to a woman who suffers a genetic defect that does not allow her to have children, distinct from a barren woman whose physical and sexual development is normal, but who cannot have children due to some other medical problem. According to those descriptions, it appears that a sexually underdeveloped woman can be recognized by certain unique physical traits, including a lack of secondary sex characteristics like pubic hair, apparently the result of a hormonal deficiency. Furthermore, it appears from the Gemara that there are different conditions that can classify a woman as sexually underdeveloped, ranging from an excess of male hormones to Turner syndrome, in which only one X chromosome is present and fully functioning. Within halacha, there are many discussions about the state of a sexually underdeveloped woman, mainly because of the lack of secondary female sex characteristics and because they develop physically at a relatively advanced age. Consequently, there are questions whether, with regard to the age at which a sexually undeveloped woman is deemed to have reached the age of adulthood, which is ordinarily defined by sexual maturity. The Gemara explains, Rabbi wants to ask, but there is the case of exploitation where the price paid in a sale was in excess of the market price 250b, which is a case of mistaken forgiveness at the time of the sale, and yet it is not considered forgiveness. The seller must return the excess money paid. And he observed me and showed me the halacha of an alienate. Doesn't the case of an alienate involve mistaken forgiveness, and yet it is valid forgiveness? Rabbi explains, as we learned in a Mishnah Ketubah 100b, in the case of a minor girl married off by a mother or brother who refuses, Mama by rabbinic enactment, a fatherless minor girl can be married off by a mother or brothers. This marriage is valid only under rabbinic law, and therefore, if upon reaching her majority refuses her husband by simply saying she does not want to be married to him, it is completely annulled as though they were never married at all. A minor girl who is married off by a brother or mother and then upon reaching maturity refuses to remain married to her husband is not entitled to the payment of the main sum of a marriage contract, but she does receive the additional sum of the marriage contract. Furthermore, she cannot collect from her husband the value of any profits of her property that he has enjoyed, and if she borrowed money for her sustenance while she was under his aegis and then refused to remain married to him, she cannot claim her expenses from him. And that's on Shulchan Aruch Ibn Ha'ezer 116.5. To continue with her husband, and in the case of a woman who's a secondary forbidden relative, a shenia, a secondary forbidden relative, in addition to the incestuous relationships forbidden by Torah law, the stage when forbidden sexual intercourse with another, more distant relative known as secondary forbidden relative. Examples of these include one's mother's mother, one's father's mother, one's son's daughter-in-law, and one's daughter-in-law, one's daughter-in-law. The sages were stringent with regard to such cases, as they are not only obligated one who had married a secondary forbidden relative to divorce her, but they even remove the wife's rights to the stipulations in a marriage contract. And in the case of an alienate, if a man married an alienate without recognizing her as such, or if he marries a woman forbidden as a secondary relative, she is not entitled to the payment of the main sum of her marriage contract or to any of the stipulations in the marriage contract, but she does receive the additional sum of her marriage contract. She is also not entitled to a stipend for her sustenance, and that's on Shulchan Aruch Ibn Ha'ezer 16.3-4. Each of these women is not entitled to payment of a marriage contract, and they are not entitled to remuneration for produce that a husband consumed from a property while they were together, and they are not entitled to sustenance, and they are not entitled to the warm clothes that were brought into the marriage as part of the dowry and became worn out during the marriage. The alien granted the right to the promise that had been earned from her property while under the mistaken premise that she was married. Yet after the marriage was determined to have been contracted in error, the husband does not have to return his profits. The Gemara continues, comments. But that is not so. The halach of exploitation is not a refutation of Rabbi Nachman's opinion, nor does the case of a sexually undeveloped woman support his opinion, as there are differences between the cases. They're more clarified. Exploitation is not a refutation of his opinion, as the buyer does not know that there's exploitation at the time of the sale. That would enable him to forgive the amount he was overcharged, and therefore there is no forgiveness in this case at all. Nor does the case of a sexually undeveloped woman support his opinion, that it is amenable to her for her husband to receive the profits in order that she receive the name of a married woman. She wants to be known as a woman who was once married, and therefore she willingly relinquishes her rights to the profits from her property during her marriage, even if it will be found to have been contracted in error. There is no mistaken forgiveness in that case. There was a certain woman who said to a certain man, "Go and purchase land for me, for my relatives." He went and purchased land for her. The relative who sold her the property said to the man acting as agent, "If I will have money in the future, will you give me the field back?" And he said to him, "You and she are relatives, and I assume that you'll be able to come to an arrangement between the two of you." V'navla, what's v'navla? She, according to the Onim, whose vernacular was Aramaic, Navla is an unusual Aramaic term meaning he or she. Rashi prefers a different explanation, that this was simply the woman's name. This opinion is supported by a version of the text mentioned by Rabbi Zecharia Agamati. You and her are relatives. A woman sent a messenger to acquire land from a relative of hers, and the seller asked the agent whether she would sell back the land to the seller when he has the money to pay for it, to which the agent replied, "Since you are family, she will likely return it." When this case came from the sages, they said that since the seller did not receive a conclusive answer, his agreement to sell the land is like an asmachta, and the transaction does not take effect. Consequently, the land, as well as any value of the produce that has been consumed, must be returned. And from the Shulchan Aruch, Yoredeya 174.3 and the Holy Mishpat 207.8. The Gemara discusses the halachas and the significance of this response. Bava Metzia said, in the case of any expression such as "you and she are relatives," the agent says the seller relies on the assumption that he will be able to come to an agreement with his relative, and therefore he does not conclusively resolve to enable the other to acquire the field. The Gemara comments, in that case, the land itself must be returned to the owner. But what is halacha with regard to the produce consumed by the buyer in the interim? Is it deemed fixed interest, prohibited by Torah, or can it be removed from the buyer by means of legal proceedings adjudicated by judges? Or perhaps it's considered like a hint of interest, prohibited by rabbinic law, and therefore cannot be removed from the buyer by means of legal proceedings adjudicated by judges. Bava Metzia said, it stands to reason that it is like a hint of interest, and it cannot be removed from the buyer by means of legal proceedings adjudicated by judges. And Rabbi similarly said it is like a hint of interest, and it cannot be removed from the buyer by means of legal proceedings adjudicated by judges. Abai said to Rava, with regard to a mortgage, if the borrower pledged a field to the lender, who worked the field and consumed its produce during the term of the loan without any agreement on him to do towards halacha, there in the previous case, what is the reason? Is it merely a hint of interest? Is it because the seller did not fix a particular sum for the buyer and as interest? Here too, the lender did not fix a particular sum for the borrower, and accordingly this would also be merely a hint of interest. Or perhaps the key issue is that there it is a sale, whereas here it is a loan, with regard to which there is great concern by interest. Rabbi said to him, there, what is the reason it is merely a hint of interest? It is considered a hint of interest because the seller did not fix a particular sum for the buyer as interest. Here too, the lender did not fix a particular sum for the borrower, and therefore this is not fixed interest. Rav Papi said, Ravina performed an action with regard to a case like this, and he calculated and removed from the lender the value of the produce that he consumed in the interim. This decision was not according to the opinion of Rabbi Bava Metzia. Martin of Rav Yosef said in the name of Rabbi, with regard to this type of mortgage, mashkanta, a mortgage, This refers to the common arrangement in which a borrower would allow a lender to take possession of one of his fields. The lender would consume the produce till the loan was repaid. This is practiced in different ways depending on the location. In some places, the borrower did not have the right to repay the loan before the agreed upon date. In such a location, this arrangement considered a temporary sale, not a loan, and the prohibition against taking interest would not apply. In another location described by Bava Metzia, the borrower had the right to repay the loan wherever he chose. Accordingly, the arrangement was considered a loan, and were the lender to consume the produce without deducting the corresponding sum from the money owed, it would consider a violation of the prohibition against taking interest. The Gemara will discuss if the prohibition in this case is by Torah law or rabbinic law. In the continuation of the passage, the Gemara will analyze other types of mortgage arrangements in which the lender holds part of the borrower's land and may consume its produce. The halacha depends on the local custom. In a place where the custom is that the borrower can repay the loan at any time and the court removes, according to Rashi, this means that the borrower can remove the lender from the land at any time. The Ritva maintains that every mortgage grants the lender right to the land for a minimum of a year, after which the borrower can take back his field. He also cites an interpretation that when the Gemara says that he can remove him, it means the borrower can remove the lender from that field and give him another one instead. If one lends money to another who mortgages a field or a house to a loan, if it was in a place where the local custom allows the borrower to remove the lender from the property at any time by paying the debt, the lender does not give the borrower a reduction for the former's use of the land or use or the fruit. This is fixed interest that can be reclaimed in court. If he lowers it by less than the actual value, this is a hint of interest. The only way to carry this arrangement in a permitted manner is by means of mortgage according to the custom in Surah. I explained later, some maintain that if the borrower can remove the lender at any time and the lender subtracts the debt due to its usage, is permitted, even if he did so by less than the actual value. If he did not reduce the debt, the practice is forbidden as a hint of interest, but if the borrower does not have the option of removing the lender within the stipulated period, such arrangement is permitted even if the lender does not lower the amount of the debt. That's in the Torah site in the Rosh. Yet others claim that the borrower's ability to remove the lender is not the decisive factor at all. Rather, this type of arrangement is permitted if the lender gives the borrower a deduction, and it is forbidden if he does not. If they are in a place where it is permitted to remove the lender, such an arrangement is considered fixed interest. The Torah site in the Rashba practice, the halacha depends on the local custom. The more right that the Ashkenazic custom follows the opinion of the Rashba, Rambam Sefer Mishpatim, Hilchah Ma'av Vadova, 7.1, Shulchan Aruch Yodeh, and 72.1. The lender from the land, once the loan is repaid, then the lender consumed a measure of produce equivalent to the amount of money that he lent. We remove him from the land at that point. The lender considered repayment of the loan. If the lender consumed a measure of produce worth more than the value of the loan, we do not remove the value of the excess produce from him, as that which he consumed is already gone. And similarly, we do not calculate any extra produce as payment from one document to another. If the same borrower owed the lender an additional sum from another debt recorded in a different document, we do not consider the additional produce he consumed as part of the payment for the second document, whether each loan is treated on the same terms. And if the field belongs to orphans, once the lender consumes a measure of produce equivalent to the amount of money he was owed, we remove him from the field. And if he consumes a measure of produce worth more than the value of the loan, we take the additional amount from him, and we do calculate the extra produce as payment from one document to another. The reason that the owner of the field generally forgives payment for the extra produce the lender consumed, but minor orphans are too young to forgive a debt, and the case is therefore judged according to the letter of the law. Rashi said, now that you have said that he consumed more than the value of the loan, we do not take it from him, and it is merely considered merely a hint of interest. It follows that if he consumed the measure of produce equivalent to the amount of money owed him, we also do not remove him from the land without the borrower paying him money. Loma thal kinandai, wherever a mortgage involves a hint of interest, if the borrower seeks to deduct from the debt the value of the produce the lender consumed, he is not allowed to do so. If the borrower retracted permission and said that he no longer wishes the lender to consume the produce at interest, he may subtract the value of anything that the lender consumed at a later stage. That's in the Shulchan Aruch Yodeh 172.1 in the comment of the Ramah. What is the reason for this? To remove him from the land without the borrower paying him money is like taking money from him, and its consumption of the produce is only a hint of interest. Loch is a hint of interest cannot be removed by legal proceedings adjudicated by judges. The Gemara relates Bava actually performed an action in a case of this kind of even involving minor orphans, as though they were adults. Even if the lender considered produce equivalent to the amount of the debt, Rashi would not collect the right of the produce from him, as is merely a hint of interest and therefore cannot be claimed in court. So we did a sentence where it split from of Ahmed B. I wish you a very good day and take care. All the best. Peace. Bye.